Coming up on the News at 5, Montana's senators weigh in on day one of former President Trump's impeachment trial. Plus,
they're anxious about the virus. They're anxious about I haven't seen my friends all the time. They're anxious about what does my regular education classroom look like.
Great Falls Public Schools discusses the impact COVID-19 is having on students.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 5.
Good afternoon and welcome to the News at 5. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. Well, today the Senate began the first ever impeachment trial of a former president with a debate over whether the process is constitutional. House impeachment managers opened their case with a video of the violence and chaos of January 6th, a day that has become personal to the lawmakers arguing to convict former President Donald Trump and the senators deciding his fate. Senators, in some cases seated at desks that were ransacked by rioters, are now tasked with deciding whether Trump violated his constitutional oath and bears responsibility for the attack. House impeachment managers replayed the events of January 6th and the former president's own words just before the riot, while Trump's lawyers argued the entire second impeachment was unconstitutional.
Presidents can't inflame insurrection in their final weeks and then walk away like nothing happened.
We can't possibly be suggesting that we punish people for political speech in this country.
Now, in this second impeachment trial, Montana's 2 U.S. senators are once again in the role of jurors, deciding whether to convict or acquit Donald Trump. Now, before the proceedings began this afternoon in Washington, they spoke with MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison, and as you might expect, they had very different takes on the trial.
Republican U.S. Senator Steve Daines says he believes the trial is unconstitutional and points to the language in Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution, which says, quote, "When the president is tried, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court shall preside."
Trump is not the president. He is a private citizen, and the Chief Justice is not presiding. I think pursuing this impeachment trial would set a dangerous precedent as it relates to private citizens. And the question is, when does this stop?
But even if the trial is valid, Daines says he's already made up his mind that Trump did not incite the rioters who attacked the Capitol on January 6th or commit any impeachable offense.
The crimes that were committed by those domestic terrorists who broke into our Capitol. They should be arrested and prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
He also said the impeachment is little more than a form of political revenge waged by Democrats who can't get over the fact that Trump won the 2016 election.
But impeachment is not the way to settle differences on policy. You do that through debate. You do that through elections.
Democratic U.S. Senator John Tester says the Senate should decide whether Trump is accountable for acts taken while he was president.
And if those acts were significant enough for incitement of violence, then he will be convicted. Well, at least I will vote to convict him. If they weren't significant enough to prove incitement for violence, then I'll vote acquittal.
When asked whether acquittal is a foregone conclusion, Tester said if people keep an open mind and listen to the evidence, it could be a close vote. He also said those saying the procedure is unconstitutional, including Senator Daines, are not willing to confront the evidence of what the president did on January 6th and leading up to that date.
That's typically what Senator Daines has done from the beginning. He's covered for this president, and he was one of the 13 people that spread the lie about the election being stolen until the rioters overran the United States Senate chamber.
A spokeswoman for Senator Daines called Tester's last comment a pointless jab at Montana's congressional delegation and said he should spend more time trying to work with his Republican colleagues. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Senators are expected to vote on Trump's fate as soon as this weekend. To date, 3 Montanans have been charged in connection to the Capitol riot, including 2 brothers from the Helena area. All right, now it's time for First Weather with Andy Curtis filling in for Curtis Grevenitz.
Yeah, another day here and another day with very cold temperatures across the state. Maybe you noticed that yourself. Well, I'm here to tell you something maybe you didn't know. It's going to continue, sadly, all the way into the weekend. Let's take a look at the wind chill out there right now. Havre, 27 below. Great Falls, 14 below. A little bit warmer down in the capital city, 10 below. And then out to the west side of the state, much like yesterday, almost summer-like temperatures, tropical, 17 degrees in Missoula, 4 in Kalispell, 10 in Butte. So they're enjoying a little bit of a warm bump. You see the change in temperatures from yesterday, really not that much, a little bit cooler up in Great Falls. Helena, 1 degree cooler than it was at this time yesterday. So pretty clear out there right now, a good amount of sunshine in a good portion of the state. But we will be expecting a little bit more snow over the next couple of days, and those temperatures will get lower, but there is a brief, very tiny break from all this action on the horizon. I'll tell you about that coming up.
All right, thanks, Andy. The Toole County Sheriff's Office is searching for 2 overdue anglers reported missing last night. The 2 men have not been identified, but law enforcement officials say they were camping on the north side of the Marias River below Adamson Road. Now, according to the Sheriff's Office, the men left their camp to visit a second camp, but did not return. And when they failed to return, a third man went to look for them. He reportedly followed their footsteps to an area of open water. Both missing men are from Missoula County, and multiple agencies, including Cascade County Search and Rescue, the Cascade County Sheriff's Office, Malmstrom Air Force Base, and Toole County ambulance personnel are helping with the search. At last night's Great Falls Public Schools board meeting, district officials presented their student achievement report. The data examined the impact of remote learning and COVID-19 on students, and a lot of board members found the report concerning. MTN's Matt Holzappel reports.
I just think what we're seeing here is a deep scar from missing school for 3 months, and in some cases for a year and 3 months.
That sentiment echoed by many on the Great Falls Public Schools Board of Trustees on Monday night.
We've got kids here in a community that is going to have an effect on these things for the next year to 11 years.
Assistant Superintendents Ruth Euchre, Heather Hoyer, and others presented data showing student achievement, attendance numbers, survey results, and more. The data shows elementary remote learning attendance below the target rate of 90%, many students not on track to score a 22 or higher on the ACT, and a high number of high school students classified as credit deficient.
We are very, very concerned about our freshmen, where 20% of all students are credit deficient at the end of their first semester.
That led to school officials implementing several credit recovery options midway through the school year. But it's not just the remote learners who are struggling.
With face-to-face students, 15% of our freshmen are off track for graduation already at this point in their career.
A district survey also found that 1 out of every 3 fully remote special education students identified anxiety about COVID-19 as their reason for not returning to face-to-face learning.
A majority of our kids that are left in fully remote or hybrid learning are anxious. They're anxious about the virus. They're anxious about I haven't seen my friends all the time. They're anxious about what does my regular education classroom look like. But then they're also anxious about not having peer support.
Officials are already working on ways to remedy the situation, including credit recovery, extended school year programs, and simply surveying students and parents to find out what is and isn't working. In Great Falls, Matt Holzappel, MTN News.
If you want to take a look at the data yourself, you can find it on our website, ktvh.com. Now taking a look at the state's COVID-19 situation, Montana reported just over 300 additional COVID-19 cases today, while active cases continue to fall. Right now, there are just over 3,000 active cases, and to put that number in perspective, that is less than a fifth of the peak active case numbers from November. 102 people are currently hospitalized with the virus in Montana. 2 additional deaths have been reported today, one of those in Lewis and Clark County. That brings the statewide death total to 1,331. MTN uses a combination of state and local data to report COVID-19 cases and deaths in the state. And hundreds of area veterans are one step closer to being fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The Montana VA held a vaccine clinic in Great Falls today. Around 500 veterans signed up to get their first shot of the vaccine. Now, the VA has been holding clinics across the state, but this was the first one in Great Falls.
Just to be safe, you know. I get the flu vaccine every year, and never ever had the flu, so
if you're a veteran hearing this and you haven't received a call from us yet, please ensure you answer your phone when we call, or if we leave a message, call back as soon as possible. And at some point, we will get to every veteran who wants to be vaccinated across the state.
The VA will be back in 4 weeks to give the veterans their second shot of the vaccine. And when we come back, Andy Curtis will give us a complete check of the forecast and that nasty weather. And later, check fraud is ramping up in Cascade County, what you need to look out for.
Welcome back, everybody. Andy Curtis filling in for Curtis Grevenance once again tonight. And once again tonight, we have Arctic sub-zero temperatures across the state. It just looks cold. That's because it is cold, especially up on Mac Pass right now. Be careful if you're driving up over Mac Pass or any of the passes. I know this is just common knowledge, but I feel like it's important to reiterate, especially tonight. Give yourself plenty of time. Roads aren't great. Temperatures aren't really that great to be stuck anywhere, so make sure you have that emergency kit in your car if you're going really anywhere that's a good distance where you won't be near people. 4 below in the capital city, and it actually feels like 4 below right now. Wind almost non-existent, so that's good. That'll change, of course, because why not over the next couple of days up at Great Falls. Not too bad either in the wind department, but temperature 14 below. Feels like 14 below. So that's, I guess, on the sunny side of things, not too bad. It'll, of course, get cooler and it's colder when you head up north. So Havre, 12 below, 18 below in Cup Bank, Lewistown, 15 below. And just like yesterday, out to the west side of the state, Kalispell, Missoula, Butte, even Dillon, I'd consider that warm compared to some other spots. Bozeman clocking in at 2 degrees above zero, but 20, 14, and 17, not too bad out to the west and out to the southern, southwest parts of the states. But still, it's going to be cold everywhere tonight, especially where we have these weather alerts. So drink it in, take a good look, pretty much everywhere except for where we just saw, where those temperatures were above zero. But in the cruel, cruel irony of Mother Nature, avalanche warnings where those temperatures are a little bit warmer. So we got winter storm warnings, we got winter weather advisories, we got wind chill advisories. That's because, of course, those temperatures are going to be plummeting tonight and staying cold over the next couple of days. And we do have a little bit of snow in the forecast, not a ton, but if you were in the Helena area today especially, much like what we were seeing earlier this morning and late last night, where coming in, not so much right now, but over the next couple of days, 20, 30% chance of some snow showers and flakes on and off. Starting on the evening, and Wednesday evening into Thursday, like that. Not a real blizzard anywhere in our forecast, but we will be seeing some snow over the next couple of days, especially around the capital city. And as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, up north central and northwestern Montana, getting a little bit more of that white stuff. Helena up around Great Falls, and then out to Kalispell on that side of the Continental Divide, Missoula, seeing a little bit of snow as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. So it's going to continue to look like a winter wonderland across Montana over the next couple of days. Taking a quick look at the 7-day forecast for Great Falls, 13 below, and that slight chance of snow tomorrow morning, 13 for the high. We're dipping down into the 30s. 30 below zero, that is, as we head into the nighttime hours, heading into the weekend. 15 below for the high on Thursday, 11 below on Friday, and then once we get into the weekend, that's when the trend starts to flip. And it's funny that this is the time of the year that we start to get excited about temperatures in the 20s, but that's exactly what we're looking to come Monday and Tuesday. Sunshine will be coming back over the next couple of days once we get into the weekend, and with that, temperatures will creep above the zero mark, so it'll start to feel a little bit more tolerable. Around the Helena area, still cold, but not as cold as Great Falls over the next couple of days. And then let's look forward to Monday for once. 24 degrees for the high.
Well, thanks, Andy. This evening, Great Falls police are warning businesses to keep an eye out for check fraud. Police have opened more than 100 fraud investigations in just the last 90 days. MTN's Coulter Anstadt has what law enforcement says you need to know.
Writing a check may not be common these days, but criminals know that doesn't mean there won't be a check in your mailbox.
We've got suspects that are either stealing them out of mailboxes. There's some scam stuff going on the phones that people are, asking to have checks made. things along those lines and getting them shipped to them.
Great Falls Police Department Lieutenant Doug Otto says the checks are mostly being used at local businesses.
We do pay attention.
Veronica Renault owns Pizzazz in Great Falls. She says she very rarely gets checks, but always tries to make sure they're legit when she does.
If there are regular customers, we don't hassle with that, but if it's somebody new, this is a small store, so we pretty much know our customers, and we always love to see new faces, but we will ID you.
Otto encourages businesses to not just look at the ID, though.
Really study the ID. Ask the person to take their mask off. That's an important piece. You have that right as a business owner to be able to do that. And if that person gets frustrated or upset, there's probably a concern there right away.
While check fraud may not be a huge concern for Renault, given the small amount of checks she receives, she's sad to see it happening.
When things like this happen, then you have to review your policies and you look at it and you say, well, do we really want to accept checks? And what's the exception to the rule and stuff like that. So it just becomes cumbersome.
If you do suspect someone is trying to fraudulently use a check in your business, try to stall them and call 911. In Great Falls, Coulter Ainstadt, MTN News.
Well, to add to that, if you suspect someone is fraudulently using your checks, contact your bank right away and freeze your account. And coming up next on the news at 5, we will check in with the Cascade girls wrestling team a week before the first ever girls wrestling state tournament. Stay with us.
As news leader, you're watching MTN News at 5.
Welcome back to the News at 5. We are just over a week away from the first ever girls wrestling state tournament, and wrestlers around the state are getting in their final tune-ups before it's go time. MTN's Tom Wiley stopped by Cascade for a mixer.
Well, Cascade held a girls wrestling mixer here just a few weeks ago, but since then there's been some really important developments. First, the MHSA announced a date and location for the first ever state tournament for girls wrestling. That'll be next week in Lockwood. Plus, coaches have released the first ever all-class rankings for each weight class, and there are some championship hopefuls here in Cascade. We'll start at 120 pounds. Harlem brought a good contingent. Here's Caitlin Johnson pinning CJI's Savannah Riggin. That'll get us going. At 132, here's Shelby's Berlin Larson pinning number 1 ranked Skylar Connolly of Valier. Cutbank brought 3 wrestlers, and all of them were ranked, led by number 1 Mariah Wall at 138 pounds. She will get the pin. Good matchup at 152. Cascade's Lindsay Faldzinski and Shoto's Anna Stutz. Faldzinski with the takedown on the way to a decision win. Badgers looking good heading to state. Meanwhile, Havers Brooke Nelson and Chinook's Riley Hofelt at 132. Nelson leading on the scorecard, but it's the freshman Hofelt making her move. She gets a third period pin. Big matchup in the lighter weights. Great Falls High's Kaylin Taylor ranked number 1 at 103. Chinook's Rebecca Stroh number 1 at 113. Good match. Taylor earning the takedown here. That'll seal the 4-2 decision. You can find full results at montanasports.com. In Cascade, I'm Tom Wiley, MTN Sports.
Well, after another string of strong performances, University of Providence basketball star Zacchaeus Darko Kelly was named NAIA National Player of the Week. This is the 4th time in his career that Darko Kelly has been recognized with the honor. He won it 3 weeks in a row last season. Darko Kelly led the Argos to 3 wins last week, including a 37-point performance in a double overtime win against Montana Western. He also currently leads the Frontier Conference in points, rebounds, and blocks. The Argos are 10-1 on the season. And we'll wrap things up here, but coming up next, here's what you need to see on Nightly News.
News leader, you're watching MTN News at 5.
Welcome back, everyone. You've probably seen a red lobster, maybe even a blue lobster, but the University of New England is introducing us to a yellow lobster. Meet Banana, the lobster. Now, its yellow color comes from a pigment in its shell, and according to the Lobster Institute at the University of Maine, experts say the odds of catching one are about 1 in 30 million. Now, lobsterman Marley Babb caught the rare crustacean at the Tennant's Harbor in St. George and donated it to UNE. Officials say Banana weighs in at about a pound to 1.5 pounds, and they have no plans on buttering this beauty up, but the school will be using the lobster to work on research.
Taking a quick look at the 7-day forecast for the Helena area. Below freezing temperatures, below zero temperatures for the next couple of days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This weekend is when we finally creep up into the positives, but still very, very cold Saturday and Sunday, 2 and 14 degrees. A warm up, though, as we head into Monday across the state.
Thanks for making us a part of your evening. NBC Nightly News is up next.